How's it going, guys? Hope you guys had a great week. So I am back today, guys, to talk about Steelrising. I got access to the closed beta over the weekend, which gives you access to 2 of the levels in the game, as well as all of the 4 different classes, a variety of weapons. And I got to get hands-on with the game and actually play it. And after playing it, I was like, I have to make a video about this game, which is utterly amazing. And I want to talk about my experiences with the beta, a little bit about what the game is, so you guys have an idea of what type of game this is, and just why I really enjoyed the experience and why I'm really looking forward to the main game, which is set for release on the 8th of September. So it's not far away, only about 2 weeks away. So what is Steelrising, for those that do not know? Well, it's actually developed by Spiders. That's the development studio behind Greedfall. It's one of the major reasons that I was super interested in this title. I was a big fan of Greedfall, really enjoyed it, really looking forward to the sequel. And Spiders is a studio that I consider to be sort of like a successor to BioWare. They make really great worlds, they produce some great RPGs, and I was kind of intrigued to see what their next original IP was going to look like. And honestly speaking, it's as far removed from Greedfall probably as you could get. So Steelrising is the latest title from them, and it's a massive far cry from their usual titles. It's actually more of a Souls-like RPG. This game is very clearly inspired by From Software's Souls-like games, so Dark Souls, Bloodborne, maybe Elden Ring. It very much feels like a homage to those styles of games. Now, I'm not usually a big, Souls-like player. I often find the difficulty spike for those games really, really challenging and, really hard to get into. But after playing, Steelrising and playing the closed beta, I would say this is probably one of the more accessible Souls style games, and I really, really enjoyed it. So what did I like about it? What is it? Well, firstly, I've got to say that the setting for Steelrising is super interesting and has me really excited. It is set in an alternative historical timeline set in France during the French Revolution. Specifically, the game is set in Paris in 1789, and the French Revolution has been suppressed with bloodshed by Louis XVI and his merciless mechanical army. You play Aegis, a mysterious automation masterpiece that is kind of belongs to Marie Antoinette. You start off as kind of her bodyguard, and you are ultimately tasked with, I think, finding her children and putting a stop to the king's brutality. And I don't know whether you'll get involved in the French Revolution, I've no idea, but the setting is really, really cool. I love the art style, I love the premise. Aegis is fascinating. You can actually customize your character. I will say that the customization options in the game are a bit limited. You can choose things like, your face and skin color, the type of material that you're made out of. So the customization is pretty limited, but there will be other levels of customization in terms of clothing and armor sets and weapons and everything involved in it too. But I like the fact that you can customize a little bit, because you can make your Aegis your own, which is really cool. So yeah, firstly, the setting really just blew me away, and I have to say that for me, Spiders are a development studio that are really good at creating fascinating worlds and settings. Greedfall is a good case in point. It has some, great characters, really interesting lore and world and setting, and it looks like Steelrising will hopefully be very similar. It has dedicated cutscenes which you get to check out at the beginning of the game. I got to see a little bit of a cutscene right at the start when you're first recruited, and if the rest of the cutscenes are anything on par with that, then hopefully the story will be really, really good. It's not going to be a huge, complete RPG where I don't think you can make different dialogue choices per se. It's much more Souls-like than it is RPG-like. But yeah, the setting and premise looks really, really cool. At the beginning of the game as well, you can actually choose from 4 different classes. And these are very much like Elden Ring. So if you choose these classes, it gives you starting level of base stat buffs, and also unlocks select weapons. The 4 classes that you can pick from are Soldier. This is basically your typical bog standard warrior. So a strong fighter that can wield heavy weapons and relies on powerful physical attacks. You also have the Bodyguard, which relies on strength and is able to withstand heavy damage. So that's more of your tank type class. You have the Deadly Dancer, which is highly resilient, a lot about agility and chaining together quick, lighter attacks and focusing on immobilizing enemies and critical hits. That's your rogue type class. And then you also have the Alchemist, which is an expert in elemental arts. So you use light alchemical weapons which can ignite, freeze or electrocute enemies. So I guess that's like your mage class, so to speak. You can obviously choose from these 4 classes at the beginning of the game. Now I actually chose to start out as the dancer because I particularly liked the starting weapon of choice, which was these really cool armored fans that you can use to block attacks as well as to chain attacks together. But very similar to Elden Ring, this is just your starting class. So obviously you might begin as a dancer, but you might choose to spec points as you upgrade and level up into different areas. And for me personally, given my play style, I probably, leaned more towards the dancer, but I did also experiment a little bit with the alchemist side of the tree, particularly some of those elemental weapons, which can be really handy. So when I do pick up the main game, I'm probably going to do a little bit of both the dancer and the alchemist. And you can actually have 2 weapons equipped at any one time, which is really awesome, and you can switch between them very easily using the up on the D-pad. So you could have a melee weapon and a ranged weapon as well. I will say that the range of weapons in the game is great. I actually got to check out all of them, from the heavier weapons to the lighter weapons, and actually really enjoyed every single one. The combat in the game is very accessible. It's a lot of fun. The enemy style and design is very cool. Most of the enemies you're going against, in fact all of the enemies I kind of faced off against, are this kind of robotic, automations that you have to take on, and they all have very different, unique styles. I got to also check out a couple of the mini bosses and boss fights as well, which I really enjoyed. And just like any other typical Souls game, you have to learn their moves, learn what moves they chain together, when to dodge, when to attack, when to block and parry. So it is very much about patience. This isn't an action RPG where you can just spam that button. You have to really do, pay attention to what's going on around you, and if you get surrounded and you overcommit, things can go wrong very quickly and you will die, just like in other Souls-like games. But the combat is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It took a little bit of getting used to start off with, especially Aegis's movement, and also the enemy movement, because they are robotic by nature. I found actually their movement really jarring and their attacks really jarring. It's not like a normal human enemy where you can read their moves very easily, because their gait and their attack and moves are not natural. I found myself actually really struggling to read them in combat, and that made the combat feel very different and very unique, and I kind of dug it. I kind of liked it. But the combat is a nice mixture of using light and heavy attacks. Of course, you've got a jump button, a dedicated dodge button. You can lock onto enemies, and just like other Souls games, you have a stamina bar that you have to keep an eye on, and any attacks and dodges that you use will use up that stamina bar. And if that stamina bar goes to 0, then Aegis will overheat, which means you cannot do anything. You can't even move or dodge. So it is about, keeping an eye on that stamina bar. Now, if it does overheat, just like with Gears of War, there is a bar that you can actually press the button at a certain point, and that will sort of recharge your stamina very quickly and cool down your system rapidly, though that itself comes with some potential dangers if you cool too rapidly and you actually get kind of frost damage, which is a really cool element to have to consider. But the combat, I found a lot of fun. Each weapon has, you know, light and heavy variations. It also has different variations if you jump an attack as opposed to if you attack, you know, horizontally on the ground. And each weapon also has a special charged ability as well. So the armored fans, for example, if you hold down, you know, L2 or the left trigger button, that will do a special blocking move. If you use the halberd, for example, that will actually charge a ranged, like, cannon type shot. So every weapon has different move sets, and obviously, you know, it's working out how these weapons work and how these moves can be strung together, as well as choosing the right time to use these attacks. So I will say that there is a lot of variety here. What was there was really great. Of course, this is a Souls-like RPG, so there are leveling and RPG elements in the game. There are very much Souls-like elements. Of course, you get to certain points called Vestals, which act as checkpoints, almost like campfires, and you can use these to level up your character's stats, level up weapons, purchase things from the boutique, from the shop. And you collect, as you kill enemies, you collect what are called anima essence, and this is your currency that you use to level up your character and level up your abilities and your weapons and the damage that you deal, and also your health. So the anima essence really is your lifeblood for the game. Of course, if you die, you drop all of your anima essence on the map, and you will then have to kind of retread your footsteps to collect the anima essence that you drop. So it's very much like a Souls style game. It's that risk and reward element to everything that you are doing. But I really enjoyed my time with Steelrising. Like, I cannot express how much I enjoyed just playing it. I found myself really sucked into the world. I'm fascinated to find out more about this alternative French Revolution setting. I'm really interested in, you know, Aegis as a character. I think it's really cool to play an automation, you know, to play a robotic style character. I'm very much interested in that. And I am really, really looking forward to delving further into it. Some of the boss fights are really cool and really different and unique and challenging, though you can actually tweak the settings yourself. So you can actually tweak everything right down to how much damage enemies will do on you. You can use an assist mode if you're really struggling. So Spiders have very much given players the ability to tweak the game to their preferred play style and the preferred level of difficulty and challenge. So if that is something that you're a little bit on the fence on, you know, in the fact that maybe you haven't really tackled many Souls-like games before, I think this may well be a good, you know, starting entry into Souls style games. But so far I really have enjoyed Steelrising. I've really enjoyed my time with the game, and I'm definitely going to be picking this up on the 8th of September. I have actually requested a review copy of the game with Spiders. I don't know whether or not I will get given a review copy. If I do, that would be awesome. Obviously I'm going to cover it on the channel whatever happens, whether I am given a copy or not. It might be interesting to do class guides for this, for the different classes and different weapons and combos that you can do. I don't know if that's something that you guys would be interested in. If it is, do please let me know in the comment section what you'd be interested in seeing. Do you want me to stream the game, or are you just interested in a really, you know, deep dive review of the game once I've beaten it? Please do let me know what you'd like to see in the comments. If you have any questions about the game at all, please do ask those in the comments as well, and I will do my best to basically get back to you and obviously answer those if I'm able to do so. But thank you so much everybody for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more content on the channel, more Steelrising as well as other content coming soon. Hope you guys of course are having a great weekend. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. Bye guys.